the question I tell people to ask themselves along those lines is, when you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, first of all, who is it you want to serve? Because you'll never fight hard enough unless you're serving somebody.
Yep.
But what is the thing that you're prepared to become the best in the world at? Because if you're just prepared to get good, you'll get crushed. And look, you're probably never going to actually become the best. But when you think about that, you know that's going to be ungodly difficult. And then at least you're approaching the problem honestly.
Yeah. Well, actually, my husband has us do this incredible thing that I love, which is instead of saying, what do I want? What are my goals? It's what do I want and what am I willing to sacrifice to get it?
Preach.
And so he has me do this with him every year because I'm the workaholic. He's actually balanced.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Which is, to say that about a Navy SEAL feels like off.
I was going to say.
It's like, now you know how fucked up I am. But, he is not singularly driven by money and the creation of an empire. And I am.
Interesting.
And I'm not driven by money in my pocket because I basically deploy all of it.
I was going to say,
usually.
For anybody that's looked into your background, that is very clear.
Yeah. But I just find it fascinating. I want to just build this huge thing. I want the $1 billion business.
It's control.
Yeah, it must be. And I also just think it's fun. It's my favorite thing. If I have to talk about the weather or PTA meetings, I'm going to just...
Now, are you like the Oracle of Omaha, where it's like literally just a scoreboard thing?
No, I think I will get to a certain point where there'll be a new game. Like we've talked about this before, he has singular focus for decades. I mean, I told this story on Twitter once, but I sat next to this guy on a plane. I actually think if you have enough cash to do it, first class, even today where everybody's posting about their private jets or whatever, first class today is one of the best investments you can make if you sit and talk with some of the other people in first class, except not me, because I hate talking to people on planes.
I was going to say facts. If you see me,
facts. Yeah,
you can say hi. That's lovely, but I don't want to talk the whole flight.
But what's fascinating is if you get to the generation above ours, so let's call it 50, 60, 70, 80. I was flying back from somewhere in France, must have been Cannes or Nice, and I was flying to the UK. And I sat next to this guy, Geoffrey Kent, who created Abercrombie & Kent. You remember that company?
I don't.
Luxury travel company. First company that created those safari tent experience. Very right.
Nice.
He grew up with nothing in South Africa, built up these safari tent companies by himself, then created one of the largest luxury travel companies in the world. Friends with the King of England now, like fancy, billions, billionaire. And anyway, he was flying next to me, which I thought was kind of interesting. I was like, like thought he'd be on a jet. And he's like, I like to fly commercial. I'm like, all right. We get to talking and I'm like, all right, you ran Abercrombie & Kent. You sold it twice, once for $1 billion and then going to sell it again and probably for another X and bought it back. I'm like, what was the secret?
There.
Yeah, he's fascinating. I was like, what do you think the secret is? Like, you did this for 60 years, like billions in valuation. And he's like, 60 years plus the same thing. It's like time plus consistency beats everything else. And I was like, God, that's so true and not what people want to hear. Because most people hear, oh, you could be a billionaire at 97 years old like Warren Buffett. No thanks. I'd rather have my crypto millions today. And
they think.
But I sit there and listen to that and I'm like, this is fascinating. Like, what if the only thing that separates a billionaire and you is time of working really hard on a particular thing, plus consistency of doing that thing and getting better and iterating every single day? That means that we have a much more even playing field than I think people will tell you today.
It compounds. There's no doubt. We were talking before we started rolling. This is my mental illness. I really have a very hard time narrowing my focus. Yeah. And I am so keenly aware that narrowing my focus will give me better results. But the problem is I'm also a human, and so I have to love my life. Yeah. And so when I'm very envious of people like my wife, for whom the thing she wants to spend her time doing and becoming the best at, she loves from top to bottom. Yeah. And so she's just all about it. Thankfully, it's not like I have 7 things that I'm trying to do, but I have 2, and I cannot seem to stop myself. They're tied, but there is a big enough gap that I'm well aware. If I would just do like media, be in front of the camera, or I would just do storytelling, game development, my life would be better. It would be more productive in either direction. And only mental illness stops me from doing that. And I mean that very sincerely. I'm not happy about that. But at least know thyself. I know that about myself.